What's up, YouTube? Timmons here. Well, here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary. Oh boy, we got some juicies here. We got the abysmal Wachowski film Jupiter Ascending. Oh boy, who remembers this one? For one, it was a complete flop. Now this of course was directed by the Wachowskis, who gave us like the Matrix and all. It starred Channing Tatum, Mila Kunis, Eddie Redmayne in one of his worst performances of all time. He, yeah, of course, he was coming off of a pretty much an award, but because I believe this was actually before, like a month before he actually won his Oscar. Yeah, he was coming off of like award buzz for Theory of Everything, and I believe he won a Razzie for this, if I'm not mistaken. But the film, of course, centers on Jupiter Jones, played by Kunis, who's this cleaner woman, and Kane Wise, played by Tatum, who's a warrior who informs Jones of her destiny extends beyond Earth. You also had like Sean Bean. Definitely had a little bit of a Star Wars ripoff here. It is awful. I remember watching this one in theaters. It's so bad. Like the effects was horrible. I believe this was an expensive movie to make, which you definitely tell here. And again, it was a complete flop at the time. So yeah, it's a shame that Wachowski's has not really put out anything worthwhile. Like I did not mind the last Matrix, but I know most people didn't. So all right, now one of the another film that was terrible that year, also turning 10, is one of the worst movies of 2015, other than Jupiter Ascending. That is The Seven Son. Oh boy, who remembers this one? It starred Jeff Bridges, Julianne Moore, Alicia Vikander, Kit Harington, Ben Barnes, and stars on Thomas Ward, who's the seventh son of the seventh son, or as Jeff Bridges says, I'm the seventh son of the seventh son. Whatever, I cannot do a good Jeff Bridges impersonation. And his adventures as the apprentice of the spook here. I mean, this movie actually was. I believe it was like supposed to come out like in 2014 at one point. It got delayed here and there. This was actually, yeah, Seventh Son is literally one of the worst movies I have ever seen in 2015. I mean, Jupiter Ascending is probably the better film, but still, that's still terrible. But holy cow, Seventh Son, man, oh boy, this thing was completely boring. The performances by like Jeff Bridges, Julianne Moore, Kit Harington was so good. The effects was good. It's abysmal, and I don't think the director has done anything since Seventh Son because I think that was a complete flop if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, all right. Also turning 10 is the SpongeBob sequel, SpongeBob Squarepants Sponge Out of Water, which follows a pirate named Roger Beard, played by Antonio Banderas, who steals the secret Krabby Patty formula using a magical book that makes any text written upon itself. I actually thought, like, of course, I did like the live action elements with them coming out to the real world. That was pretty cool. And Antonio Banderas playing the villain was pretty cool. I had a fun time with this one. It was definitely entertaining. Of course, it was the last SpongeBob movie we got in theaters until like 2020 came around. So, and then of course we got a new one coming out this December. So yeah, not bad film here. All right. Also turning 10 is a movie that not many people probably have heard of. It's a film called The Voices. Now, The Voices stars Ryan Reynolds as a man suffering from schizophrenia and trying to maintain a secrecy about his hallucination. While off his meds, the man kills and takes out his love interest. Later, he hallucinates that the dead woman urges him to kill again in order to provide her with a companion. Now, this of course came out like a year before Deadpool came out and all, and this is probably one of Ryan Reynolds' most underrated, underappreciated performances. If you guys have not watched The Voices and you want to see how good Ryan Reynolds is, go watch The Voices. I mean, this is like, let's say Doctor Dolittle meets American Psycho. That's why I always saw the voices here. He also voices the talking cat and dog in this, who actually talk him into killing here. It is a lot of fun. It's really entertaining here. The dark comedy humor is pretty good. Uh, there's a really nice song moment at the end that's pretty cool. I mean, this is definitely one of my favorite performances of Ryan Reynolds that is not Deadpool related. So yeah, if you guys literally never seen the voices, do yourself a favor, go watch it. As much as I like seeing him in Deadpool, Free Guy, and everything, I would love to see Ryan Reynolds do another film like The Voices. He really has some cool like dark comedic acting chops here. So all right. Oh yeah, you also had Gemma Ortega and Anna Kendrick was also in this. Do yourself a favor, go watch The Voices. Excellent little film. All right. Films turning 20. We got Boogeyman. Not to be confused with The Boogeyman. This is of course based on the Stephen King story, starring Barry Watson, Emily Deschanel. Uh, The film is a new take on the classic Boogeyman, which of course they got turned into another film with Sophie Thatcher a couple years back, and it concerns on a young man, Tim Jensen, who must confront the childhood terror that affected his life. The recent one with Sophie Thatcher was pretty terrible, and I admit the 2005 one wasn't so good either. So I will admit the 2005 one's a little better than the recent one we just had, but it's not all that scary. Nothing about it was all that interesting. So yeah. All right. Also turning 20 is The Wedding Date, which stars Dermot Mulroney, Will and Grace star Deborah Messing, Amy Adams. Of course, this was around a time when I believe like Will and Grace was still on the air. Oh, I think it was actually after it like finished its run, if I'm not mistaken, or I think it was still on the air or finished its run at the time. I can't remember, but it is about the single woman who hires a male escort to pose as her boyfriend at her sister's wedding in order to dupe her ex fiance who dumped her years prior. It's actually a little nice, charming film. I mean, the chemistry between like Messing and Maroney's pretty good. Amy Adams, of course, she was as popular as she was today. But 2005 was more of a breakout year for her because she also had Junebug that year too. So I don't know, not bad. And you can really buy Amy Adams and Deborah Messing as sisters, by the way. So there's that. All right. Also turning dirty this week. We got Boys on the Side, which stars Whoopi Goldberg, Drew Barrymore, Mary Louise Parker, Matthew McConaughey. And it's where like a nightclub singer, Jane, played by Whoopi Goldberg, answers a personal ad from Robin, played by Mary Louise Parker, a real estate agent with AIDS seeking a cross country travel partner. And really a nice, charming little film. The chemistry between like Drew Barrymore and Whoopi Goldberg's pretty good. Um, Louise Parker's pretty good in this. Really decent little film, if you guys haven't seen that. All right, also turning dirty is the John Carpenter film In the Mountain Madness. Probably my least favorite John Carpenter film. This movie stars like Sam Neill, Charlton Heston, where Neill stars as John Trent, who's this investigator who visits a small town while looking into the disappearance of a successful author of horror novels. And this is actually referred to as Carpenter refers to as his Apocalypse trilogy, which was preceded by The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and all. And this is the worst out of the bunch. Here, it's not so good. It's really terrible. Wasn't all that interesting at all. So I love John Carpenter, but not everything he put out turned to gold, and this was definitely one of them. All right, also turning 30 is the Jerky Boys, which follows two men, Johnny B and Kamal, aka the Jerky Boys, two self-described lowlifes from Queens who gets in trouble with the mafia when one of their prank calls lead them into money laundering business. And this is actually not too memorable. I don't really remember too much about it, so yeah. All right. Films turning 40 this week is Heaven Help Us, which stars Andrew McCartney, Kevin Dillon, Mary Stuart Masterson, Patrick Dempsey. It's about a group of Brooklyn teenagers here And of course, pretty much about like teachers and administrator at the private Catholic school for boys attend in the 1960s. Not a bad little teen movie from the 80s. Andrew McCartney, who obviously was like part of the Brat Pack back in the days. Uh, Kevin Dillon, who's actually the brother of Matt Dillon, and you might remember him as I believe Turtle on Entourage, and he was also in like the 1980s Blob movie. So there's that. Oh, Wallace Shawn, John Hurt was in this. Donald Sutherland, some cool cast members. Really decent little film there. We got Witness, which stars Harrison Ford, Patty LaPone, Lucas Hodge, Kelly McGillis, Viggo Morrison in his film debut. It focuses on a police detective protecting an Amish woman and her son who becomes a target after he witnessed a murder in the Philadelphia railway station. Now, this is actually probably one of Harrison Ford's most underappreciated films. It's really a decent, like, neo noir crime thriller. Directed by Peter Ware, who did The Truman Show. Harrison Ford, who, of course, at the time, obviously this stuff, like Indiana Jones, obviously, Han Solo, he was pretty popular with at the time. And this is maybe one of like his most underappreciated films that is not Star Wars or Indiana Jones related. My favorite is still always Air Force One, but this is another really decent one, to say the least. All right, there's also Mischief, which stars Doug McKean, Chris Nash, Carrie Mary Stewart, Kelly Preston. Where in 1956, John Allen Bella is having a hard time finding love, but when the shy Jonathan becomes friends with other Bells and popular Jane, who gives Jonathan some tips about girls, things begins to change. Not really to remember, to be honest, yeah. So I mean, I do obviously Kelly Preston, was pretty popular at the time. Like she actually had like a more of a breakout year in the 80s. Catherine Mary Stewart, of course she was in that movie Nine to Comet. She's done some cool stuff there, but it's not really to remember, to be honest. Yeah. There's also a Lust in the Dust, which stars Tab Hunter, Jeffrey Lewis, Cesar Romero, where dance horror girl Rosie Velez, lost in the desert, is helped to safety by gunman Abel Wood in the town of Chile, Verde. And Abel is into conflict with outlaw hard case Williams and his gangs here, where there's like a treasure and gold here. Again, not really a memorable 80s film. Again, you do have like Divine, who was like a very popular drag queen at the time. She was in John Waters movies. Like she was in the original Hairspray, where she played Edna Turblad. She remember Pink Flamingo. She was also in that. So yeah, she was in this here. Tab Hunter, obviously a very popular gay actor from that era. Cesar Romero, who you might know as the Joker on Adam West's Batman, he was in this. Jeffrey Lewis, who's actually the dad of who was the dad of Juliet Lewis. So there's that. But again, I don't really remember this movie too much. I probably have seen it one time, but flew over my head probably. But that's pretty much it there. Let me let you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is actually going to go to The Voices. The 20-year one is The Wedding Date. The 30-year one is Boys on the Side, and the 40-year one is Witness. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Him.